Welcome to the Happy Mama Village podcast, episode 3, Divorce and Parenting, part 3. Welcome to the Happy Mama Village podcast, episode 3. This is your host, Bryann Zielinski.
And Annie Henderson.
Hi, Annie.
Hey, Bryann.
Welcome back to our village where we talk about all things pertaining to happy mamas. Relationships, parenting, stain removal, self-care, the whole shebang. While you're listening, don't forget to like this episode and join our Facebook page, The Happy Mama Village. We do have some freebies for you ladies out there. Annie and I are both offering one free coaching session per person during the month of May, since May is Mental Health Awareness Month. My ex-husband had some issues during our marriage. I know that everyone knows somebody who has struggled at one point or another. Wouldn't you say, Annie?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I feel like everyone's family probably has at least someone they can kind of look to, and it might be something they're actually, private about. If you don't realize that someone in your family might have some mental health issues, that might be something that they need to have someone to talk to. And it could be, it could be a psychologist, a psychiatrist. It could be more solution focused, like with a life coach.
Exactly. And it doesn't, we're not just talking, diagnosed mental issues, but even just, postpartum depression. I know I suffered from that a little bit after the birth of one of my daughters. So, anybody and everybody, in my opinion, can use a little bit of life coaching.
That is so true. So true. I haven't I haven't shared this yet, but years ago, my brother's family had asked if I would be their gestational carrier and help them with their family and carry their babies.
That's awesome.
So I did that, and I was nervous, like, oh gosh, this is like a big undertaking. I'm a pretty mellow person, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make an appointment or a few appointments with a counselor just to make sure my head's on right. And, I don't have any adverse reactions. And because I had my own family, I was still going to grad school. I had a lot on my plate, and I was just wanting to make sure I was in a good space. So I was kind of proactive about it. But I really think everyone at some point in their life should, check out a counselor or a life coach, depending on your specific needs.
Definitely. And you can message us on Facebook to claim your free session. So don't forget to go in and check that out. Okay, so thanks for joining us this week as we dive further into our series on divorce and parenting. In our last episode, we talked about communication. Annie, you gave us some great tips. There was the ungame suggestion, which I loved, and I've already used it. So
Nice.
Yay. And we talked about family meetings. So there was a lot of great information last week. We really didn't get into communicating with your ex about parenting last week. However, that is one of our topics coming up in a few weeks. So hang tight for that one. We will circle back and talk more about communication. Annie, is there anything you want to add about last week's episode?
If you missed it, it is available on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page for right now, and hopefully soon it will be up on iTunes.
Awesome. Yay. Okay. So this is part 3 of our series on divorce and parenting.
Today is technology, and I know last time you were pumped up about the technology one.
No, I actually am really excited. I've been looking forward to this talk about technology.
So as someone who has been a counselor for adolescents and who's also been a school counselor for grades K through 5, and my daughter is now will be in 7th grade next year. I have had the full range of technology concerns and issues. And usually, as you might have heard, I don't remember the exact age, but your brain is still developing until you're in like your low to mid 20s. So, handing this powerful technology to young children that, are still learning how to be social and how to interact with others and how to, be kind and ask for forgiveness, all of those things, that's a huge responsibility. So
Yeah.
when it comes to families, we have to be on the ball. And like you said, this is a series on divorce and parenting, but it's not only for those that are divorced. This is just for everyone. And, if you're recently divorced, this is just some really good stuff to focus on to make sure you have a good baseline and everyone's on the same page in your family and you're just set up for success.
Right. It's a perfect time to set some guidelines, put some procedures in place if you haven't already. And if you did have guidelines in place when you were inside the marriage, it's just as important now to reestablish or redesign a new plan going forward. Obviously, it's great to have the other parent on board with you, which obviously that's a great opportunity for y'all to co-parent. But it's most important for mamas that when your kids are at your house, that you have a strategy in place, because like Annie said, this is a powerful tool. It's putting a computer in the hands of these little bitty creatures, and it's a constantly moving target, right? I mean, because technology
Yes.
is constantly changing. So it's a moving target. So it's definitely the time to get intentional if you haven't already. When you agree?
Yes, you said that so well. And just because your ex does not have the same plan in place does not mean it's not going to work. My my house does something completely different than at her dad's, and sometimes we want to give them an excuse like, "Oh, that's too many rules. They have, all these different places, and it's just too hard." No, these kids are smart as a whip.
Yeah.
They adapt so well. They're so resilient, and as you can tell, when you give them technology or a new language, they learn it faster than we do.
Yeah. And it's also easy to get discouraged if the other parent isn't on board. Like, oh, this is never going to work. So, and you get defeated before you even start trying. And really, I think we would encourage everyone to kind of take an opposite approach, that if you're educating your kids when they're at your house, the rules might not necessarily apply when they're at the other parent's house, but the education goes with them. They've been informed. The information goes with them so that hopefully they'll make the good choices for themselves when they're away from you.
Right, and I've seen that firsthand with my own kiddo. Like, I've been surprised that, certain rules, she will stick to even when it's not necessarily would be enforced over there. Like, she could totally get away with it, but because of, our consistency and open communication and just, high expectations, she's totally nailing it.
That's awesome. Hey, pat yourself on the back. That is a parenting win if I
So
ever
far.
had one.
So
Yeah.
far.
Hey, take what you can get, sister.
I will take it right now. So one of my favorite things that I would love to share is actually by the great Ryan Smith. He is actually I say local. We are in Texas if you're hearing this from somewhere else. He's a LMFT and LPC, and he came and spoke to all of the school counselors in my school district. And he has something called the Family Tech Plan, which I recommend to all the families and all the schools I work in. And I also have a link to it. So if you can't remember all of that, if you go to my page, anniemhenderson.com, in the resources, there is a button you can click on that will take you right to it. And you can have a PDF, you can have a version that you can make your own. There's even examples. It kind of spells it out. It's almost like you make a family brochure, and it goes over things. There's a kid section. There's even dun 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 a parents section. So, this is all about modeling great behavior. If you're, expecting your kids not to have a phone at the dinner table, same
Ah.
same goes for the parents,
Yes. You
right?
know what? I struggle. I'll be honest. I struggle with this one, and it's real easy to get into work mode when I'm supposed to be in family mode. So I can really appreciate that tip. That's something that I certainly need to
Right.
work on.
No, I'm right there with you. Sometimes I'm so good at it, and sometimes it gets me. So that's something I need to work on. I have some my side business has some hospitality attached to it, but if I think about it, by the time we sit down and we eat, it's not that huge of a time span where someone can't wait just a moment. So I just have to remind myself and tell myself that, maybe check it right before dinner and then maybe right after dinner if I need to get back to somebody. But it definitely, you know, those little eyes are always watching and seeing if we say one thing and do another, and who the rules really apply to.
Right. So tell us more. I can't wait to hear more about this tech plan.
Yeah. So, who usually buys these phones and the plans?
Right, the parents.
The parents. And I, so honestly, my daughter does not have a phone yet because I've seen all of the drama it's created with students I've worked with adolescents. And she's with me. She's not to an age yet where she is away from either a parent I know or away from me. So, because there was no real reason for it, right now she is, I'm getting to let her know, how serious it is and really kind of talk over things like, if in my head, if your attitude shifts or or your grades drop, what's going to happen? So
Right,
occasionally we'll
right.
have this conversation. She'll go, "I'll lose the phone."
Yeah.
um,
Okay, so so I'm going to interrupt you because the polar opposite of that, where at a pretty young age, I felt like I needed to buy my oldest daughter, who's now 13, almost 14. I
mhm,
believe she was 9 or 10 when I first felt like I needed to get her a phone because she was her and her younger sister, they were beginning to do overnight visits with their dad, my ex,
mhm.
who there had been some issues. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it all depends on your situation. There's definitely no right or wrong, and that's the great thing about this tech plan, because if your kiddos do have this technology, make sure that they understand some of these rules. So, for example, some of them are no locked screens, or if it's locked for to keep your friends out, mom has the password.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's
Um,
definitely one of our rules is that we have to know the password.
yeah, no secret social media, email, or networking accounts. If mom needs to be able to approve that, because and if once you link to this site that's off of my page, he'll also talk about different apps and how they can be abused, right?
Right.
TikTok might look innocent at first and your kids might be thinking so, but there's always someone out there that ruins the fun and
Okay.
makes it
Okay,
horrible.
I'm so glad you said that because I oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. I was helping my daughter. She was maybe 10 or 11 at the time. She was really into drawing. And so I was going to Google images for her, cartoon images for her to
Mhm.
copy. And I literally Googled My Little Pony, the TV show.
Oh gosh, yes.
I Googled My Little Pony, cartoon, and then I clicked on images. And I was just looking for something that was simple enough for her to copy so she could practice her art. And as I'm scrolling, I kid you not, there was a pornographic drawing
No.
of the My Little It was the My Little Ponies, and I could not. I mean, I'm so glad she wasn't actually with me
Right?
when I was
Oh my gosh.
scrolling, but I was so shocked that something so innocent. It's not like there was a keyword that I was using that could be kind of borderline like, oh, okay, that could have been taken, a different way. No, My Little Pony. I mean, it's a G-rated
Yeah.
kids TV show. So even that, you think that you think that they're safe. You think that they're not going to type in something they shouldn't. And my daughter never would, but all you have to type in apparently is My Little Pony, and they're exposed before you know it.
Exactly. And I know there's different ways to search, and you know, stuff like that, but there's always a chance it could be corrupted or someone has gone and added things. Or I mean, I my daughter at her dad's house will, has can look up stuff on YouTube. Well, if anyone's been on
Yeah.
YouTube, even the suggested stuff. So we've had to talk about, instead of assuming she's not going to ever look at YouTube, because everyone does enjoy YouTube, teaching her what to do when something comes up. So just, role playing through. If something pops up that's not what you were looking for, like click out of it and let me know. Don't just hide it. Don't just assume, because eventually I might look and see that you're on this page.
Right.
Like, we need to know that way if something like the settings are off, or if something,
Right.
something else, if something deeper, just let us know. You're not going to be in trouble. It's just something we need to set up differently.
So, how do you feel, Annie, about some of these apps? Like, I know BARK is an app that we've looked into, my husband and I have looked into, that alerts the parents when inappropriate text messages, images, websites with your kids on your kid's phone. How do you feel about stuff like that?
So I know some people are all about privacy. My thoughts are, my 12-year-old should not have anything necessarily that she needs to have privacy. Not that I'm going to be searching and looking at her information every day and her phone, but if I once a week or randomly want to look on there, there should be nothing that pops up that's alarming. So I think a Bark app I think that's a great idea, because yes, we want our kids to make good choices. Like we said, that brain is not fully developed. So wouldn't you rather have a clue and a hint that they're, seeing and experiencing all of this inappropriate content than hoping they're going to make the right choice and come and talk to you?
Right.
If we
Yeah.
think back to our own youth, that
Yeah.
might be the answer.
Right. Right. It's kind of the equivalent of, I know my mom would always call my friend's house if I was going to spend the night, and
Mhm.
call and make sure you are where you're supposed to be, and it's pretty much the same thing, um, just with technology.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah. So I think the Bark app's great. Some other things have to do with where, and I saw this a lot with my adolescents. Where is this phone being charged?
Okay. Tell me more about that.
Do you want to offer up, I guess, what y'all are doing currently, or would you like me to share first?
Well, I have a feeling you're going to get on to me when I tell
I'm not
you.
going to get on to you.
So, my husband is kind of a techie kind of person. So we do have chargers like everywhere. We have chargers in the car. We have charging cables
Yeah,
everywhere.
right?
But right now they are in their room. They do charge them at night. in their rooms. And I already know, because we've had a chat about this in preparation for this episode, I'm doing it wrong. And I really do. I can't wait to hear. I'm open to suggestions.
There is no do it wrong. If you've already set it up, and you're having the right communication and maybe even checking, that is fine. What I will tell you is what I've seen will happen is my my clients have, maybe their moms even, maybe they have rules, but their friends don't. And these kiddos are not having their phone on silent to where it'll ding at 1 a.m. Or, they'll say goodnight to somebody and that friend just keeps talking and talking. And, our kids
Right.
need their sleep. It's so important. That so just not having access, if they can't go to sleep, do you want them to, try different things and work on strategies, or do you want them to be flipping through YouTube for hours on end?
Right. Now,
It's just a little too tempting.
I will say to pat ourselves on the back here,
Good job.
while they do charge in their room overnight, we actually shut their Wi-Fi access off at night, so they can't access the internet between like 9:30 and 7 a.m. And we do make them put their phones on do not disturb. So
Okay,
is
yeah.
that kind of an in between?
I think depending on the age range, I
Mm-hmm.
think that starting out will probably, could be great. It just depends, what you might see up ahead. Like
Gotcha.
at 16, 17, 18, when they have maybe a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a best friend, are they gonna, when mom's passed out from a long day at work, are they just gonna flip that and be up? So it takes conversations, it takes expectations, and you can totally, let them fully trust them at first. And, if you start to have issues, you can let them know if this starts to be a problem, this is what can happen. Making sure there's a tech-free time. If you go out to dinner or if you're out and you're looking around at people, how many people is it, like a group of people, but everyone's on their phone?
Okay, this drives me absolutely insane. And I'm telling you, I say this to my kids all the time. My youngest in particular. So my youngest is 10. She has an iPad, but it doesn't have cellular service.
Mm-hmm.
So she just has to use it when it's on Wi-Fi, or we have to hotspot her. But we'll be in the car, like we'll be literally taking a 2-minute drive, and she'll be like, "Hey, hotspot me." I'm like, "Dude, we are like 30 seconds from home. Like, chill, look outside, look at a tree, look at a cloud." Like when I was growing up, I pull this all the time. Well, when I was a kid, we
Right.
didn't have phones. I survived 30 something years
Mm.
without a phone in my hand all the time.
Mhm. And
So,
what you might do is be able to just, you might have to teach them out of that. So it
yeah.
might be, "Oh, do we wanna play 20 questions, or do we want to,
Yeah, that's like
um,
shoveling sand.
sing a
You know what I
song?"
mean? Like teaching them
Yeah.
out of that is, yeah, like herding cats or something. I mean, we
It
can't
is,
make any progress.
especially when, when another adult's driving and we are hitting our phones hard as well.
Right. Yeah, for
That can
sure.
be that can be tricky. Um,
So no technology time. I like that.
yeah, and I mean, if it's a big trip, but usually, when those kids are held hostage, that's some good quality mom time in the car of chatting about something, or, singing some songs together. Stuff that's, good for the brain.
I like it.
And I'm just glancing over it. Everyone definitely needs to check this out, even if you don't use this one and you just use it for bits and pieces. Um, there's parts about not arguing about your phone, like being checked or being taken away. Like it's not up for debate. This is just,
Ah.
ooh, broken phones don't get replaced. I
Mm.
had a family that I was seeing. and they were, I would say, maybe struggling a little bit financially. And this kiddo would get upset and break her phone. And what do you think the first thing to be fixed and replaced was? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So part of this on here is also slip ups. For example, devices. If you have a slip up and you break one of these rules, the device will be surrendered for 24 hours, depending on which rule you break. 24 hours, 48 hours. And
Right.
then you can even add a parent slip up penalty.
Ah.
I know.
Annie, you're talking crazy. It's crazy
That's,
talk.
yep. You're gonna have to walk the walk. Anyway, so it just has a lot of great ideas. Like I said, you can make your own. You can totally delete that before they even know it's there. But I think it's good to show them that, I need to work on some things myself with technology. This is great and we can work on it together.
So that's kind of teamwork. We're in this together.
Yeah, and just show,
We're in this crazy, wild technology world together.
yes, and it can be tricky for all. And just realizing you're in charge. It's your phone, you're paying for it. A kid's not going to tell you what to do about something you purchased for them. Does that make
Right.
sense?
No, totally. And
And
I
it goes back to
absolutely,
communication and consistency.
absolutely. And let's not forget, like, we are the parents. And so there's nothing, I don't remember what movie it is, or it may have even been a TV show, but like, everything in this house belongs to me. I am the king of this house. I'm the dictator of this
Yeah,
house. It's my stuff. You're only getting to borrow it.
right.
And kids don't, in my opinion, kids don't have. They have the right to be loved. They have the right to some food. They have the right to a bed. Beyond that, they don't have very many
Exactly.
civil
So, yeah.
liberties in my house.
Yes. So when you're going over all the things you're grateful for, that is a perfect one to bring up and mention.
You got any other tips for us, Annie?
Just check out that tech plan. If you have any questions or, a specific issue that's coming up with your family, feel free to reach out to us. And gosh, I might have to one day make a little screen share where I go over the bits and pieces of this, and we might have to share our adventures as we, put it into place and change it up for our own families. What do you think, Bryann?
For sure. And I love that. I love that we can commiserate together.
Yes.
Misery loves company. No, I can't wait to look up that technology plan and really put something in place. It is something that we've been talking about, my husband and I have been talking about for a while. And we keep thinking, oh, our kids, oh, we've got good kids. Oh, they're not old enough yet. Oh, it hasn't reached critical mass yet, but that's not the time to do it. When you're in crisis or when something already
Exactly.
pops up, it's best to go ahead and have something in place. It's going to make us feel better, it's going to make them feel better.
Exactly. And just think, who is it easier to teach and set limits on? A younger kid or a teenager?
True, so
You
true.
wanna set those good habits in place.
Awesome. Thank you, Annie. This was a good one. And this kind of wraps up our talk for this week. Next week is love languages. I'm finally on track. So I can't wait
Uh,
to talk about that. Annie, do you have anything to say about next week's?
Again, if you go to my resources page, if you want a sneak peek at love languages, or maybe you read the book years ago, but maybe you just want to see if, I wonder if I've changed, or if you have kiddos. There's also a kids version. So if you click on that
Ooh,
link from my page, you can totally go ahead and do some pre-homework and
awesome.
then know exactly what we're talking about next week.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening. For more information or to interact with us, you can check us out on Facebook at the Happy Mama Village or on our individual websites. Also, you can check out our show notes for more information. Be sure to join us next time for part 4.